Welcome to the Leadership Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Jono White. I'm the founder and principal consultant of Clarity. We are an Australian-based consultancy that works with leaders around the world, and our passion is to invest in people to become everything they're meant to be in order to fill the world with healthy organizations that people love to work for and customers line up to buy from. The goal of this podcast is to invest in you and your leadership. If you're just joining us for the first time, then feel free to check out consultclarity.org. That's our website, consultclarity.org. We have so many free resources on there, the most popular being our 7 Questions on Leadership series. We've had more than 1,500 leaders from around the world in all different sectors give their in-depth answers on leadership, what books they love, what they found most challenging, the most meaningful stories, how they structure their time through the day. That's free, so go and check it out. And we'd love to interview you about your leadership. I believe you have advice from your experience, your context, and your life so far that is important and can help other leaders. It's also a great way to give back. It's free to get involved, and you can do so by going to consultclarity.org/7-questions-interest, or just Google consultclarity.org 7 questions interest and fill out the form that pops up. We have a free resource for you on our website. It's called Leadership Survival Guide. It's a 57-page ebook. It has interviews with 10 world-class leaders, and you can go to consultclarity.org. It's right at the top, and get that today. We also have a daily email that we send out to over 15,000 leaders, and that email contains the highlights, our best content from our podcasts, our blog, my book, the books that we're loving that are out there about leadership. It's also the best way to get access to our masterclasses and workshops before anyone else. And there's also exclusive and limited special options just for subscribers. And you can subscribe by going to consultclarity.org/subscribe. Now, my gift to you is to work incredibly hard to provide the best leadership content I can to invest in you and your leadership. So if you're finding our content helpful, if you find this podcast helpful, then your gift to me could be this. If you do find it helpful, then write a review or rate our content and make sure you subscribe or follow. I can't emphasize enough how helpful that is. It really does help us to get the word out there so we can invest in more leaders to become everything they're meant to be. It also means a lot to me personally when people like you and people in our community share our content on social media. So if you do that, then please do look for me, Jono White, to tag me, and look to tag Clarity on whatever platform you're on. And our team, including me, I'm always looking to see when people have mentioned us so that I can engage with you. And also we look at sharing content. So if you write something about something we've done, there's also a good chance we'll share that with our followers. So if you could do that, that is a massive, massive help as we try to invest in as many leaders as we can around the world. Last of all, you can check out my book about how to deal with difficult people even if you hate conflict. It's called Step Up or Step Out. It's available on Amazon. You can just look up Step Up or Step Out Jono White, or you can go to store.consultclarity.org/book and check it out there. I have coached leader after leader after leader, and in more than 50% of the sessions, this topic comes up. How do I deal with this person? I'm finding it really difficult, and I just want to find a way that doesn't blow up to just to have a difficult conversation, to lead them better. How do I do that? There's a 3-step process that I outline in this book that I believe can help you. Okay, let's get into today's episode of the Leadership Conversations podcast. Enjoy. Welcome to another episode of the Leadership Conversations podcast. Today's guest is Priyanka Khandalkar, and Priyanka is Chief Operating Officer, Remote Integrator, podcaster, leadership coach, and her organization is called Scaling to Grow. You're really going to enjoy this conversation. Priyanka is an engineer turned entrepreneur. As I mentioned, being a CEO, Director of Operations, Remote Integrator for multiple 6-figures and 7-figure online businesses, She helps them to scale their business with ease by leveraging systems, automation, and delegation. She is also host of Top 1% global ranked leadership focused podcast for entrepreneurs called Show Up with Priyanka. She is trainer, coach for Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi's mastermind.com students and has coached 1,200 students alone in 2021. Wow. She is leadership coach for other operations executives and has successfully coached 143 directors of operations in 2021 to strengthen their leadership. She's author of the top ranked book worldwide, Wings of a Woman. She has impacted 3 million worldwide by her work and major media appearances in news and newspaper. She was awarded in 2021 as Top Women Influencer of India. She currently lives in Portland, Oregon with her husband and 4-year-old daughter, Anvika. I'll have to check if I've pronounced that right. Welcome, Priyanka. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast.
I am so excited to be here, Jono. Like this is amazing, and I love to talk about leadership. I just get lit up. So I am quite very much excited to be here.
Now, the most important question of all, did I just pronounce your daughter's name correctly? Because that's very important. How do you pronounce your daughter's name?
Yes, you did. The way it looks like you say it that way, and you did it absolutely amazingly well.
Wonderful. Well, I and and I love that we were just talking before pressing recording about how after this you're taking your 4-year-old daughter and Vika to Taekwondo, and I just love that. That to me is such the leadership that is such a great example of leadership, isn't it? You're doing a podcast where you chat about all things leadership, and then you have your family where you take taking your little one to Taekwondo.
I know.
That's what life's like. So.
It's
Um,
so funny. I think once you become a parent, Jono, and you were just telling me that you are going to have like yours is coming soon in April. I just
yes.
feel like when you are an entrepreneur and you are such an ambitious person, where you're always looking into something positive, and we will be talking about positive, contagious leadership today. But I just feel like we also have a responsibility. We are leader to our kids, and we have to make sure that we are showing up for them and really showing up the path, the roadmap, and eventually they decide their own path. But I think I just love to like strengthen their own leadership. And I feel like Taekwondo, like they all teach you so many different things, like discipline, like any other sports.
Yeah, I love that. I did a little bit of taekwondo when I was younger. It's a great sport. So to give our listeners a bit of a window into what you do, and that bio is breathtaking with the amount, the amount and the scope of particularly around coaching you did last year in 2021. But give our listeners a bit of a window into what you're doing at the moment and your various roles, your podcasts and everything you're doing at the moment, Priyanka.
I know it's so much, you know. I I always have difficulty explaining what all I do because I do a lot of things, and it's just being a multi-passionate entrepreneur I am. So I worked in corporate for 12 years in automotive as an engineer, and I have my master's in industrial engineering. So I have this 12 years of experience, and it was in operations. And one of the things I did in 2021 was leaving my corporate job. And like I knew that when I leave my corporate job, I want to make sure that I make more than what I was already making in corporate.
Yeah.
And I was not going to start, like that was one of the things I had in my mind. Like that was my decision making moment where I quit my job. And in 2021, like 80% of my work is helping multiple 6-figure, 7-figure CEOs who are impact driven, heart centered, community focused. They're online, helping them to scale their businesses through systems, delegation, like empowered teams, streamlined operations, which will result in them having more impact, more revenue, and eliminate the chaos which happens because when we start our entrepreneurship journey, we are normally wearing all the different hats. Like in corporate, you will have different departments for those. So that's where I go in. I'm the right hand to the CEOs, and I worked with like five powerful CEOs in 2021, helping them to scale their business. I remember I hopped on a business in September, in the month of like December itself, like we did some tweaking, and in like 2 days she made like 140K. And
Wow.
it's interesting, it's amazing what I can do when I go in. And sometimes it took me a while. So when I started my uh like my director of operations or COO, because our title changes. So when I started, I did not had so much confidence, but after working with five CEOs, now I'm like so confident with the value I bring. And so that's what I did. That was my 80% of my work, and then 20% of my work was all the other things. Like I have my own podcast, and I'm actually about to post my 100th episode. That's a big milestone for me.
Congratulations. That's
um,
massive.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jono. I feel like I just love talking to other entrepreneurs like the way I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
And I just love, so that podcast is one of the avenues where I talk to entrepreneurs every week around leadership, but also I bring in systems and operations, like how they are building their business, their struggles, how they show up. That's why it's called Show Up with Priyanka. And then that's one of the things I do. Then I also I did publish a book. I became a published author this year. I do leadership coaching for other director of operations like me, who are right hand to the CEO. So I help them to strengthen their leadership based on my own experiences. So that is also 20, it includes in the 20% of the things I did. And then I also was trainer for Tony Robbins, where I helped them with their expert knowledge to start their business. And I remember was working with a NASA, like a retired NASA scientist, to start her own business from her
Wow.
expertise. So it's interesting, all the different memories and stories and all the people I work with and connect with. And that makes me humming, because I love people. I love to work with people who are like really heart centered, really passionate about what they're doing, and they are here to make changes and change the culture. So in short, that's what I do.
Yeah, that's a great summary. Thank you. Tell us a little bit about your story, and I'm particularly interested in some of the moments that really shaped you becoming who you are today. You know, so whether that was in your childhood, whether that was in your career in automotive, what are some of those moments along the way that have really been pivotal for shaping you, becoming the leader you are today, Priyanka?
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of impact from my childhood. I did grow up with a dad who is super ambitious. He was in a lot of executive position growing up, and always going to that next thing, always have next goal to achieve. So I'm super ambitious, and I think I get that from my dad. And when I was growing up, like probably it was like 10th 9th 10th grade, I also was a leadership I had a leadership position inside the school. I will like organize events, and I will have like 400 students reporting to me, and like just the house captain, I think that's what they used to call it. So I always had this, and I will be always in extracurricular activities like at sports or singing. I'm a professional singer and dancer, so I will do all those kind of things. Not so good in studies. I was always average in studies, because I used to love to be in everything else, and I will probably just study one day before the exams. um, but then I just had this awareness of how things work, and like looking at the big picture, and like really being there leading leading others. And then I did my bachelor's of engineering in India, and then I came to do my master's in US. And what I found was, after I did my master's in industrial engineering, I started working in corporate in USA. I currently live in USA, and there are not a lot of women engineers in automotive. Like I will be
Yeah.
probably one in, like it's very male dominated. And one of the things, like when I was very new, I still remember the instance, like someone was like giving me a tour. I had just joined this job. They were giving as an engineer, and they were giving me a tour, and one of the operators says to me, "Oh, you're like a baby doll or something." And I took it really
Mm.
I did not like that. I was like, there's a way you speak to me, or like that's not respectful.
No.
But maybe when you're a young engineers, it's very easy to get those remarks, those judgments. And I knew that I cannot let them say that again to me. So I have to show, like, I have to be very grounded, but I need to take control of the situation. So, very early in my career, I started with a leadership coach. And probably you already know her. Her name is Anis Kavanagh. And she has been with me for a long, long time, 7, 8 years. And it's interesting. Now I'm a trained under her to be a leadership coach. And now I train
Wow.
others around leadership. So it's just amazing. So those were the moments in earlier in my corporate, like being a young engineer in a very male dominated, and then really understanding my superpower, which comes with like being a woman. We are very intuitive, we have really good intuition, and
Yeah.
really knowing my superpower of like empathy, like that's what I connect with. I am very much very like generous but very empathetic. I can like I will work with clients, like I will go to Toyota plants where my clients were Toyota, Hyundai, all these automotive giants. And it will be different how they will treat my male counterpart and then how they will treat me. In the sense,
Wow.
they were more what do you call it, more like a gentleman, and like really like listen to me, and like they would love to work with me because I was just like bringing best out of them and giving them the best service, best customer service, um, and like solving their problem and like being like super fast. I'm a good problem solver. So if I get a issue, like in automotive is crazy, like if you get a complaint and if you don't solve it right away, you can have a million dollar loss because you make a car in like two
Wow.
minutes so every 2 minutes you waste because they have a conveyor that's going on, and in every 2 minutes you have a car building, and if you don't solve that problem, if their production line has stopped, so you have to come up with like a very creative problem solving techniques so that they are running and we don't have a lot of claims afterwards. So I was always the one who was always the run, like I just had so much energy. And then having the leadership coach along with me who helped me to like really harness all the good things inside me, changing all those self doubt into what do you call self doubt into like more empowering, like what is
Yes.
unique inside you, what are your weakness, what are your strength, what are like maybe my weakness is I can't like really pick up a 50 pounds of a radiator or something, so I get help then. So like really understanding where I can leverage experts, how to leverage that, what are the way to show up, so that I can get help and support, not in a way to what do you call manipulate, but in a way
Yeah.
to like really being authentic and intentional with your things you want to take care of. So I have been always so I would say that has been one of the moments in my life where I really started leveraging in my corporate intention and authentic leadership, which I teach now to others because
Yeah.
that did great things about me. And if you talk to any of my colleagues who has worked with me in corporate, they will always have pleasant experience with me because I always showed up for them, to support them, to take care of them, to help them. And because of that, there was a reciprocity. Like we talk about this in leadership, like reciprocity. If you do something for good for someone, there will be a reciprocity. I always look into like it's not only one way street, it's always two-way street. Whether
Yes.
it's like open communication and I always appreciated that. I was always grateful for the people I surround with, even the your nemesis, like some of them who will like really, what do you call, like will not get along, but they also teach you so many things. And I have some interesting stories from my corporate. Someone who did not see my value, how they changed after 5 6 months and gave such a great testimonial about my work to my bosses, and they started treating me so nicely rather than like treating me like you don't know anything, you don't know what you're doing. So
Yeah.
sometimes that's what people will start, like they will judge you based on whatever it is, and then eventually when they work with you, they know how you work, how you think, and you can change people's thinking about you, and you can still be that person who is respected and like still have a good communication with the people who don't get along. So And then it's all about earning the respect and building the trust. So I think those have
Yes.
played really, that has helped me throughout my corporate to like really get things done and build great relationship. I'm great at networking, and that I always owe my corporate for all the experiences which I bring now to the online world when I help entrepreneurs with
Mm.
their leadership. And I started so I think that was one thing. Having my own leadership coach was one of the change making thing in my own corporate world, to like
Yeah.
really understand my superpower as a leader and leading every conversation, not thinking like you need to have a title to be a leader. You are a leader regardless of what title you are in. um,
Yeah, I love
and
that.
then also understanding Jono was I did Unleash the Power Within. That was Tony Robbins event in 2019, and that had a huge effect on me on like finding my voice
Yes.
and really going out there. Like I was probably not like really because sometimes it's hard for us to like really be authentic and go out there and tell our stories and
Sure.
share our voice. And because of the childhood, the way your brain is the way your brain has been grown up with, right? That you don't share everything, you try and tend to keep it to yourself because you think like, no, it doesn't really matter to them, or if I share that, it will it make me seen as weak, because sometimes authentic and
Yeah.
vulnerability can be seen as weakness. But for me, I realized during Unleash the Power Within session, or that whole seminar, which is a 4 days event of Tony Robbins, and I really understood that that is what is my strength. My vulnerability, my authenticity is what is my strength. And people want to know your real you so that they connect with you. And I started with my podcast. And because of that, I started with my podcast because I just
Amazing.
knew that there's someone who's out there who wants to hear me. And now it's a global podcast. It's listened in so many multiple countries, US being the top, and then second I think is India, and then I know Australia is also one of them. But yeah, it's just like it's everywhere where my friends are. Normally all my friends listen to me, or whoever, if they get referred by someone, they listen to me. But podcast was, I would say, a game changing for me, because then I started talking to entrepreneurs every week.
Yes.
And it's different thing, like they say you're average of 5%, but I hang out with entrepreneurs every week, whether it's my clients or I'm talking to them on my podcast. And they have such a big influence. Like I'm talking to them, but I'm learning so much about myself, how I need to think, or getting
Yes.
new ideas. And I feel like I also had a moment. I probably did not say it, Jono, but in 2014, I got fired from one of the role, and I thought I was the best. How can they just fire me? And that was my trigger to
Wow.
start my entrepreneurship. So I did during my corporate. I always like I was like, okay, I need to have a game plan B. I can't let this happen to me again. So I used corporate as a way of like funding my education to for my entrepreneur journey, still doing my great job. Like I always make sure like I do my great job in corporate, but also like starting into my side hustle. So I had physical products. We were selling furniture, then some baby products, and then we had our own SaaS business going.
Wow.
Um, creating apps for improving retention in engineering college. And I was talking to different deans. I was in like early 20s and talking to different deans of engineering university. It was just a different kind of confidence. But one of the things, when I was talking to the deans of the university, um whenever I will get panic or like, oh my god, they're at this, like you normally put people in pedestal, like you're like, oh my goodness, they're up there, like how can I talk to them? I'm just 20-year-old young engineer.
Yeah.
But I did use a lot of the things which I teach now in leadership: intentional energetic presence. Like I always do this exercise before any important cause, even talking to any um, like talking to inside like any CEOs, or in any difficult conversation. There's a couple of steps I take, like just to put the what is the intention, what kind of presence I want to have in this call, and what kind of energy I will bring, how I'm going to show up. And I always made a friend. Like after I spoke to the dean, I will make a friend because I had that belief system in me which I have set up before, even like preparing yourself. And so I wanted to mention that. So I
Yeah.
did do those things, and I used leadership like crazy during creating my businesses. And now I talk to CEOs who are seven figure, multiple six figures, eight figures, nine figures. And it's so easy for me because I know where I stand. I know my energy is pure of like
Mm,
helping, supporting. I
yeah.
know my intentions are good. So I think the leadership, like just strengthening my own leadership has helped me so much.
Yeah, I think your story is incredible. What I want to know what you would say to a leader who might be listening, who particularly is a woman in leadership in a sector like automotive, like you were in, where she's
Mm-hmm.
stepping into a leadership role and it's very male dominated still. What advice would you give based on that experience, and some of it harrowing and some of it's really built resilience in you? But what advice would you give to a young woman who's stepping into a leadership role in a male dominated company or industry?
Yeah, good question, Jono. And I would say really looking into what strengthens you. And I was telling you, like, women have really good intuition. Like, that's how we are born. Like, if we know something in our gut, that is true. And one of the things I really work around, and this is something all about awareness. So I feel like there are two parts of your leadership. There's an inner game of leadership, there's an outer game of leadership. Inner game is all around intentions, energy, beliefs, mindset, how present you are. Outer game is all around your communication skill and interaction with others. So the inner game drives the outer game, and no one can play that better than you. You control your inner game. So
Yeah.
I feel as an engineer, we get all the skills and tools and everything. Like we can get that from certification, or whether you get an engineering degree or whatever degree you're working on, you get all those skills and tools. But like it can only elevate, or it can only take you so far, all those skills and tools. But the most important part for being a leader is to strengthen your inner game. What I mean, making
Mm,
sure, like, when you're talking to someone, you're present with them, you're listening to them. Um, because if your presence is not on time, if you're not present with them, or you're burned out, they will sense your vibration. So it's all about, like, we talk about this, right? How is your vibe? Like, we talk about what is the vibe like,
yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
vibe means your vibration. Like, when you enter a room, do you make people feel like, oh, like, like she's here, I'm so happy? Or do you leave dead bodies around after you leave? So,
Yeah, I like that.
also understanding, are you, like, when someone, like, are you proactive? Are you stronger? Really understanding like how you should strengthen your inner game, and like and how can you command more presence and create more impact. It's very interesting to know that 93% of our impact is from our presence and 7% from our words.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
how can you
Can you
create,
say that
how can
again?
you 93% of our impact is from our presence and 7% from our words.
That's mind blowing.
And it's very important to know that your self care is your superpower. Self care is a leadership skill, I feel, because um, you can't have an impact if you don't take care of self care. So there's a saying like this: impact needs self care more than self care needs impact as a leader.
Ooh. Yeah. Sorry.
So,
Can you say that one again too? That's really good.
yeah, so impact needs self care more than self care needs impact as a leader. So
Yeah.
why do I say that? Because what happens is, um, if you are not truly impactful, if you're exhausted or burned out, it's not going to work out. You need to make sure you are taking care of your self care, because what happens is, why impact needs self care? For more power and sustainability. But self care needs impact for power and inspiration. So I think we need to really understand
Yeah.
that as a leader, whether you're an executive level or you're a CEO, that if you're stressed out, like really look into like what is happening and what is happening with your how you can build your leadership immunity, which is like how you can take care, how can you take care of yourself
Mm,
first. Because if you don't take care of yourself first, because what happens when you prioritize your self care, people sees that, right?
yeah.
People see that like you're taking care of yourself, you're hydrating yourself, you're taking pauses in between the meetings, you're giving some time for like buffer time in between your things, right? So that you take a sip of water, and it can be anything. So there are like two parts of building your immunity. I want to talk about that a little bit. Can I mention that,
Yeah,
Jono?
please. Please do. Yes.
Okay. So there are two part of it, like being and doing, like building your own leadership immunity. Being is all about like your self-awareness, your beliefs, your thoughts, your assumption, your attitudes, your intentions, relationship with others. And doing is all around like physical, any kind of like rituals, the language you use, meditation, working together. So like really looking into like, okay, if I want to be more present, what do I need to do? So maybe right now I'm talking to you, I feel like, oh, I'm not, like you're talking to me, Jono, and
Mm,
you're asking me a question, and if I'm not present, you will feel it, you will feel my energy, like, oh, she's
yes.
not even getting me, she's not even responding the what I asked, right?
Yeah.
So why that happens? Because we are not present. So if I know, if I'm self aware, I'm not present right now, I will take a pause and I will say, Jono, can I go and take care of this one thing which is bothering me? Maybe it's something I need to call, or maybe I take a note of it in a sticky note so that I get fully present here. Or maybe I need to just take a sip of water. I go and take a sip of water just to be more present. What is that one thing you need to do right now to be fully present? Asking yourself that,
That's a great question.
right? And then and doing might be, some of the example might be like regularly creating some chunk of time for yourself for silence, unplugging, whatever it is, journaling. And like if you are feeling low energy, if there's a grumpiness, impatience, whatever it is, like really understanding that maybe you need to take a 10-minute nap, like just to be like, to like come back and show up better, like whatever it is,
Yeah.
what is your body telling you, like looking for those signs. And yeah, those are the things I will say, Jono, like those are the things, like if you take care of your self care, really understand your body, really take those pauses which you need to take, rather than like rushing from one meeting to another, but having some 5 minutes or 10 minutes in between, or telling your team like, hey, I will be a little bit late here, can you take notes for me? Or like offloading something. Sometimes we can offload certain things. You don't have to be in every meeting. Does it really matter? Like I so often hear like people will come back saying I am busy. Are you using the word, like what is the language you're using? Are you saying I'm busy, or are you saying I'm richly scheduled, right?
Yeah.
So it's fun because sometimes if you look at your calendar and if you feel like there's some things in your calendar which doesn't make sense, it doesn't make you feel good, like maybe don't have it. Sometimes we don't even need meetings if you have good system in place, right? Because things will still get done.
Yes. Yeah,
Or
you're right.
making that meeting like 15, yeah, or making that meeting 15 or 30 minute, like just touch point with a good agenda. If there's no agenda, don't even have that meeting, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, like those are small things we need to look into, and really identifying, I call that as kryptonites. They're like immunity kryptonites, and those are the things which will actually weaken your energy field, which will like really hamper the credibility and trust that you can build with others. So look at that things, what are those things which are kryptonite, Are you
Mm.
breaking a promise you made? Are you making excuses? Those are kryptonite to your own immunity. Are you gossiping? Like, are you blaming someone, something
Yeah.
else? Are you playing a role in a drama triangle? Or, like, are you complaining? Are you tolerating things in your environment which you should not be? Are you avoiding anything? Are you using weak language? Uh, are you not taking care of yourself? Are you suffering in any way? Are you doing it all alone, not asking for help? Are you just tolerating people, places, things that suck life out of you, right? Are you not honoring your own core values? So I think those are like
Mm.
some of the things, looking at those are the things which like really hampers your own self-care, because when you look at all these different things and like take one thing at a time and like really look into what's going on and take care of it, like you like your inner game, like you make your inner game strong, then your outer game is just like communication, open communication, and like all the skills, like it just shows up. So I feel like that's how it's all about beliefs and intentions and presence. For me, it all comes back to intentions,
Mm.
energy and presence.
Yeah, there's. I feel like there's so much more we could explore in that. I did say before we started to you that I already would love to invite you back for another episode down the track. But I wonder. So I would love to invite you back, and maybe if we do have you back on down the track at some point, maybe we can really drill down on one of these things, particularly if you've got a resource around that time. Because there's
Yeah,
so much
sure.
that you're getting into, and I would really love to. But I'm just really want to honor your time and just looking at the clock. I want to just fire through these Leadership Express questions and go through really quickly.
Hmm.
So are you ready for that, Priyanka?
Yes.
Okay, let's see how we go. Okay, what is a book that you've gifted a lot to other people?
I would say Traction is one of the book I love about, because it's all about operations and leadership, so I
Yes.
love that.
Is that the EOS? Is that where Entrepreneur Operating System?
Yes, I love that book, Traction.
Yeah, so do I.
Another book I really love is, I would say one more book which is close to my heart is Ask and It's Given.
Oh, okay. Haven't heard of that one.
It's a very much, you don't have to sit and read the whole book, but it's mostly a book like, if you have something going on in your life, you just open that chapter and you read that chapter.
Okay, that sounds amazing. Any great, excuse me, any great podcasts that you're listening to at the moment, or other sources right now that you're reading, watching, or listening to? And by the way, everyone, make sure you go and listen to Show Up with Priyanka, because that's an obvious one, which is a fantastic podcast. But yeah, anything that you're really loving listening to, reading, or watching at the moment?
I'm right now reading two books. I normally read two books at a time. So one is A Slight Edge. I love that book.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good the way that book is written. I'm just like, wow, it's just such a simple concept, but it's just that one slight edge. Whenever you are looking at things, like having that slight edge to look at things. That is one book. And then you know the Shark Tank, Barbara
Yes.
Carcon. Yes, so her book. I'm reading her book too. So I'm just reading about her story of her
Amazing.
entrepreneurship journey, how she took $1,000 to make $1 billion business. So
Oh,
those are
cool.
the two books I'm currently listening to. Podcast wise, I love to listen to Ed Milet show.
Yep.
I love to listen to yeah, right now Ed Milet show. Yeah, that's one of them. That's the only thing coming in my mind. But I do listen
That's
to
all right.
other podcasts too.
No, I love that. I love hearing about the different podcasts. A time management or productivity tip, or a tool or resource you use for time management or productivity.
I use something called Timular. It's a Timular. It's a Timular. It's a Timular. It's a device which you
Hmm.
keep on your desktop, and whatever task you're working on, it has 8 phases. on that device, and you change that face, and it will automatically record on your computer, and it will give you a report at end of the week what task you work on for how much time. So I work with many different clients, different projects, so I have face for each one of them, so I can understand better how I'm utilizing my time.
Oh, that is cool. Timula. Love it. What is a great piece of advice that you've received from anyone in your life at some point?
Oh, I would just say it's like taking what is it? It's one of those things which Tony Robbins keeps on saying. One
Mm,
is proximity is power.
mm,
Proximity is power. I always believe that you need to be, if you want to achieve something, you need to be have the network of people who are already achieving it, have proximity, because they will, like, even sometimes it's just the connection. I'm always around people, like that has played such a high dividend in my own life.
yes.
Proximity is power. And another thing is unique, like you are unique, and what you bring to others, like there are people out there waiting for you to come out and talk about your offer, talk about your innovations, talk about your ideas. So there's always someone who is out there looking for you. So don't ever think like this idea is not going to make sense, because you are unique, you with your unique personality, that is your differentiator. And having a abundance mindset for everything.
Oh, I love it. A movie or TV show that really impacted you?
Whew, movie. Oh my goodness. Um, Show. I watch a lot of comedies.
Yeah, doesn't
I
have to
love
be
to, like, whenever
profoundly
I'm
deep.
watching yeah, whenever I'm like watching a movie, like for me, books are like my best teachers. I would say movie wise, I love the Beautiful Mind. I love um, I love Tony Robbins documentary. I love watching documentaries. And then I also love. I think there's one Michelle Obama's documentary that was fun to watch. And then I love TV show. I love Shark Tank. I don't know why, but
Yeah.
just I love it.
No, that's great. They're great recommendations. That's awesome. If you could only give one piece of leadership advice to a young leader, what would you say?
Oh, I would always say your leadership is contagious. Like how you show up really matters, and understanding that the gifts that comes from positive contagious leadership is limitless. Really focus on being responsiveness versus attracting resistanceness, inspiring others versus obligation, lighting up a room versus dooming or glooming the room, authenticity versus fakery, um, and also like open up conversation rather than shutting it down. Like, what are the things you could do to do that? So,
Mm,
I'm all about contagious positive leadership, and that's the advice I will give you. Like, whatever you do,
mm.
think about, does it make you feel light up, happy, humming, or it makes your energy down? Really observing your energy and like taking actions from there.
Yeah. Great advice. And what's the best thing you're doing right now as an entrepreneur yourself that other entrepreneurs and leaders should know about?
Oh, so I one of the things I love to make connections.
Yep.
And one of the things I do, like, I probably in Facebook, I have close to 5,000 friends now. And some of them, most of them, I don't know. Like, they just add friends. And
Yep.
just to make the connection, I always make sure on their birthday, I send them an audio note. That's my
Oh, that's
first way
awesome.
of connecting with them. Yeah, I feel like how can you, because I feel like the online world has changed so much of the things we used to do traditional way of like connecting with people, making it more personalized, make it more customized. I always find a way on whether it's from Facebook Messenger or if anyone does anything for me, how can you add some kind of your unique presence or your unique connection and build that relationship, because you never ever know where your next customer is coming
Yeah.
from, or you never know when you are making connection with your soulmate or your best friend. Like, you never know. It's always like,
Hmm.
I just feel like connection and relationship is something we should think about and do more.
Well, that is just such wonderful advice. We talked about this a bit before, but for those listening who are really loving some of the advice, really interested, particularly in the things you've talked about around contagious leadership, and I love what you talked about around leadership immunity. And where can people find you, Priyanka?
Yes, so you can find me on Show Up with Priyanka. I'm on iTunes, I'm Stitcher, I think Google Podcast, Spotify. Another place you can find me, Facebook. You can just search my name, Priyanka Khandalkar. I'm also on LinkedIn, Priyanka Khandalkar. I'm also on Instagram. So you can find me on those three social media platform. Um, but yeah, those are the places. And then you can send me an email, showupwithpriyanka@gmail.com, to let me know if there's something, any questions you have. And also you can go to my website called Scale Up with Priyanka to schedule a call or just learn about me.
Wonderful. That's really helpful. Well, I really appreciate your generosity coming on and sharing. It's just been wonderful to hear a bit of your story and to chat about some of the things you're passionate about. I've really enjoyed the conversation. So thank you so much for coming on and being such a great guest.
Thanks, Jono. And I will see if I can send you a document which you can have as free information around the leadership too, which you can attach in the show notes.
That would be perfect. So if anyone wants that, make sure you check the show notes. We'll have a link there, and you can actually get a document that Priyanka has put together around this that'll be really helpful for you. So make sure if you really loved this episode, you jump in and check the show notes and get that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jono.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Leadership Conversations podcast as much as I did. If you're joining us for the first time, don't forget to check out consultclarity.org. That's our website, consultclarity.org. We have so many free resources on there, including our 7 Questions on Leadership series. We've had more than 1,500 leaders from all over the world in all different roles, in different industries, answer these 7 questions on leadership, and leaders give these in-depth answers around how they spend their time, a book that's been significant for them. It's just a gold mine. It's completely free to access, so go to consultclarity.org and look for that. We'd also love to interview you about your leadership. I believe your experience, your life, your context means that you have advice on leadership that other leaders can learn from. Yes, you, if you're going, not me, well, no, I really believe you would have something to add. So if you're looking for a way to give back, it's completely free to get involved. And we would love to interview you through the 7 questions on leadership. You just go to consultclarity.org/7-questions-interest, or Google consultclarity.org 7 questions interest and fill out the form and get involved. We have a free resource on our website called the Leadership Survival Guide. It's a 57-page ebook, 10 world-class leaders giving their thoughts on leadership, and that's completely free. It's available on our homepage, consultclarity.org, right at the top, so make sure you go and get that and download it today. And we have a free daily email that you can subscribe to. We send this out to over 15,000 leaders from around the world. And it contains the highlights of content from our podcasts, our blogs, our books we're reading. It's got the best content, and it gives you exclusive, limited, early access to our masterclasses, workshops, new products, special offers. It's all for our subscribers. You can go to consultclarity.org/subscribe and join 15,000 other leaders. And you know, my gift to you is to work really hard, particularly through the Leadership Conversations podcast. I have been blown away by the quality of the leaders, and I'm learning as much as anyone in doing these interviews. So I'm having a great time And my gift to you is to keep lining up the best leaders I can to invest in your leadership. Your gift to me, if you're finding this helpful, there is something that you could do that would help us out massively. And that is to write a review and to leave a rating for our podcast or wherever you're watching or listening to this. I can't tell you how much that helps us out. Also, subscribe or follow. It really does make a difference in helping us to help more leaders become everything they're meant to be. Another thing that means a lot to me personally is when I see our community share our content. So if you do share this or any other piece of content on social media, then thank you, and please do that. And look for me, Jono White, or Clarity, and tag us in your post. Our team is always looking for posts to engage with from our community, and there's also a chance that we'll share your content to go beyond and share it with our followers. Last of all, you can check out my book. It's called Step Up or Step Out: How to Deal with Difficult People Even If You Hate Conflict. I wrote this book because 50% of the coaching sessions I have with leaders, this topic comes up again and again and again. And it's this idea of, how do I have this difficult conversation? How do I lead this person better when I'm finding them difficult? Or in some cases, you look and you say, I think I might be leading a difficult person. They're just quite difficult to lead, or I'm finding them quite difficult to lead. So there's a 3-step process that I unpack in Step Up or Step Out. And the amazing thing, and I've literally done this myself, and I've heard it anecdotally from other leaders as I've coached them, is that if you follow this process, you will see that person step up and change their behavior or make a decision, which is to step out some of the time. 95% of the time, people will step up or step out in just 4 weeks. And I stand by that. It's you have to read the book to understand, but I really do believe in it, and I've experienced it firsthand. It works. So you can go to Amazon, look up Step Up or Step Out Jono White, or store.consultclarity.org/book. Well, thank you so much for listening. We're going to be back with a new episode next time of the Leadership Conversations podcast. And I hope today has helped you to take another step towards becoming the leader you're meant to be. See you next time.